Hello, Nicholas.
Hello, Matthew.
Welcome back. It's great to have you here again.
It's good to be here, brother.
Tell us, what time did you set your alarm this morning?
It's an early one.
What time?
I got up at 3:45.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
I had a tea ceremony for an hour with my flatmate, and then moved into a study call. I'm studying compassionate inquiry, which is Gabor Mate's psychotherapy approach. So I had an hour-long practice with a beautiful therapist in the US. Yeah.
That's awesome. How much self-discipline is required to get up at 3:30? You just want to click the snooze button and go back.
Every morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost did this morning. I was really close to doing it, but I feel like I want to answer that question in collaboration with the why. Like why did I get up?
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like it's essential for my health and well-being to create time to get up and just soothe the mind, soften the tension in the body, and just kind of clear the cobwebs of that are how to say, like, gathered or maybe created or remembered each day just from my life, but also clear the cobwebs of the past and the inheritance of what my parents lived through and what their parents lived through. And yeah, I feel like especially at that hour of the morning, like the really early time, between 3:30 and 5 is like the best time to do the inner work, because it's quiet. Everyone's asleep. There's not the kind of busy, energetic chatter that happens. Like, the difference when you wake up at 6 to when you wake up at 8 a.m. There's like a dramatic.
Yeah, and then every hour before 6 is like even more magical, even more difficult to set the alarm at that time.
Yeah. But now, like, it's been a few pretty excruciating years. Like, I felt like for years I was like in the trenches. I can almost feel my granddad's just like in war, waking up at that time and forcing myself to get outside and get the kettle on and sit down in the cold in the winter and just like a lot of the time just cry.
Yeah.
Just like reconnect to my beauty through understanding and softening all the places in me that hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a lot of self-discipline and courage just to, set your alarms and push yourself to get up at them times. I've noticed from just starting going to the gym and booking a 5 a.m. class and setting my alarm for 4:30, it's like once you get up and you get there and you get it done, it feels so nice. But in the moments leading to it, and obviously the night before as well, how you prepare for it, if you have an early night or you have a late night, then it's going to affect your whole mood and how easy it is to get up. But yeah, I wanted to go more into self-discipline a bit later on, but you said you was studying and then compassion.
Compassionate inquiry, it's called. It's an approach by Gabor Mate.
Can you tell us more about that?
It's a psychotherapeutic approach in how to support people to feel good about themselves and to heal from the pain and the trauma of what they've experienced in this life. And the main premise is that for healing to take place, compassion has to be there. So as the therapist or as the person, supporting the other, there has to be compassion. And so if there's any trigger in me that doesn't feel safe, if I'm judging this person, it's actually not possible for them to heal and to release and to find the true self again. That's the kind of goal of the modality is of any healing modality, I would say, is like reconnecting people to the beauty that's within and to the purity and the love and that like untouchable, unshakable soul. Essentially, it's like reconnecting people to the soul.
It's beautiful. And you obviously, with you healing other people, you've got to be, a good container, healthy container for them to be able to express and for you not to be able to absorb too much of it, so then you can't clearly guide them. So what do you do? Obviously getting up at 3:30 a.m. and doing all these things that are good for your health, you think that prepares you for having the capacity for others?
Yeah, definitely. And that's like, it's like ongoing that, we're all in this process of healing, and I'm so incredibly flawed.
Yeah,
as well as I have an amazing capacity to support people to feel safe enough to cry and, vomit the shame out of their body in front of me. I also have all of that inside of me as well. So it's the daily practice is most essential for me, either tea, qigong or gym. I'm really loving the balance now, actually, with those three. And regular like therapeutic work myself, like receiving support from mentors or different therapists or healers. I mean, there's such an array of healing modalities out there in the world, and just totally encourage anyone that is interested in something, whether it's Reiki, whether it's psychology, whether it's, like a sacred rage workshop or art therapy. If you're interested in something and you're afraid of committing to doing that or to going to that thing, that's like the blueprint, your intelligence of your soul saying this is going to be really good for you. And most of the things that are good for us, there's fear there. But I know in my mind it's like, oh no, I don't want to do that because that's scary, and it makes so much sense to not do that scary thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the growth is, and that's where the ability to keep growing is, when we keep stepping towards that. And just as like a full disclaimer, like every single time I sit down, or I'm leading up to sitting down to support someone, whether it's one-on-one or in a group space, there's a lot of fear that moves through my body. There's a lot of, maybe it's even not fear, maybe it's just energy.
Maybe you're charging up to prepare for what's going to happen. It's going to be a big energetic exchange. So it's like maybe when even before we do this podcast, I can feel that energy within me. And it's like, I think it's a healthy kind of, I don't know what to label it, but it's like just a healthy energy that kind of like makes you a bit more alert and open to receiving, I guess, and open to communicate. And that's how I look at it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can feel in that the kind of the yin and the yang, like there's fear, there's energy to create, and some of that kind of like that energy is like really productive and actionable, and then there's also like this really soft, scared part that's like, I'm going to fuck it up, people are going to judge me, this person's going to hate me, I'm going to be left.
Where do you think that part comes from? That part of like thinking, the fear part, and thinking people are going to judge you or you might fuck it up, because that, self-sabotage in a way, isn't it? And I do it as well, oh, maybe I didn't click the cameras on, or maybe this is going to happen, and it's like, it's all going to be all right, And I think when you build trust for yourself and your equipment and whatever else, you can start to relax a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it comes with reps, I guess.
Yeah, where do I think it comes from? Yeah, it just comes from so many different places. But a lot of it would come from being raised in a culture that and an education system that kind of shames and punishes kids. Like last night I took my son for a walk, and there was this grandfather looking after his like 2.5-year-old, and he was just pestering this kid. He's like, say hello, and like for about half an hour. And every time this kid would like throw his tennis racket, and he'd be like, no, pick that up, apologize to the dog. And was just like, me and my son kind of like stopped and were like, whoa. It was so strong. And there is so much like of a emphasis of doing the right thing in the Western world. There's such fear of making mistakes, and yeah,
I've seen that as well. Like once you start, you know, consciously looking at yourself and how you are as a person, and then how you speak and treat your own child, you then start to notice how other people are treating their children or grandchildren, and then you can. For me personally, I can feel it inside of me that that is not a healthy way to speak to a child. Like, you do not own that child, you're not controlling that child. You're just there to be a parent, be a carer, guide, and lead them the right way. And you don't have to force them to say hello if they don't want to say hello. Like, they're their own individual soul that's come into this body. And even at 2.5, as our kids are, they're so intelligent. And if she doesn't want to say hello to someone, and she doesn't want to cuddle someone, and she doesn't want to kiss someone, I'm not going to force her to. It doesn't matter who you are, if you're a grandparent or a relative or anyone. If she doesn't want to do it, I'm going to respect her decision to say no. And I think that's what more people need, is just to understand that kids are super intelligent, and you can't force them to do things. You can only guide them. And then the word discipline comes to mind, and I think that's really misunderstood in this day and age. What does discipline look like for you when the word discipline in a child or discipline your own child looks like?
Yeah, that's something. Like, my son's only 3, so I'm still in the education of that. Like, I feel like discipline's maybe not.
It's an interesting
what's
word, isn't
needed.
it?
Yeah, like self-discipline. Like, the etymology of the word discipline is disciple. So you're like a disciple of, like, self-discipline is to be a disciple of yourself, like a student of the master teacher inside of you. But it's got so misconstrued, that word. It means punishment.
Yeah, even when I say it, I feel a part of me that's like, it doesn't feel right, because it's like discipline. You do this, you do this, you do this, and I don't think kids react well for that. I never reacted well to being told what to do in that certain way, and I think, what comes to my mind is guidance, how to guide them correctly, or like reroute what they're focusing on, and that is kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, with love and with boundaries.
Yeah,
I've heard in a lot of different parenting kind of literature and just schools of thought is that boundaries are really, children are like craving those boundaries, like the consistency, the routines, the freedom, but also within the boundaries of a safe environment, which means connected adults, connected to their hearts, connected to their bodies and to the earth and to the sky, and a village, but we don't necessarily live. We definitely don't live in that paradigm here in the Western world, and most of the world doesn't really live in that anymore, like, because things are so modernized. So it's like the boundaries and the environment for a child to grow up feeling really safe and like loving who they are and having that like embodied self-discipline shown to them, because that's how kids learn, right? We're totally just sponges of whoever's around us. If that's not being embodied in the culture, it's really challenging for the individual to embody that self-discipline themselves. And I'm like, it's funny, I had someone at the gym the other day, one of the beautiful trainers there was like, what's your word for next year? And I was like, discipline. She's like, what? She's like, you're so disciplined already. And I'm like, there's parts of me that are disciplined, and there's also parts where I'm really not disciplined in my life, like with food and tobacco, and like I'm still up. I'm up most mornings and I'm doing some sort of practice and self-reflection and just soothing and healing, but there's still a lot of pain in me that I haven't been I just haven't been able to meet just yet.
Mm.
And I can feel the judgment of myself in saying that I haven't been able to, you know, like I'm 34 years of age and I expect myself to be fully healed. And I can feel that story of judgment and shaming that I was seeing that in this old man yelling at his kid. I was like, just let him be a child, let him be beautiful, let him make mistakes. And that connected me to this podcast I listened to the other day that I was meant to send to you, but I forgot.
So I started listening to it. I think you sent me one, yeah. I started listening to that.
With Pat McCabe, the Danae Elder, and Ian McKenzie on the Mythic Masculine. And right at the end, she does like a closing prayer. She says this prayer for man, and what just stood out for me and is still kind of like deeply reverberating through my whole being, and I actually just cried just around the corner on the way here, just feeling it, is she was just praying like for all the new fathers of sons especially. She's like something along the lines like, please go and listen to this podcast. It's called something about a thriving life with Pat McCabe and Ian McKenzie. But the prayer says something along the lines of like, to all the young fathers out there and just the fathers, please make it your priority and your mission in this world to protect the hearts of your sons. And just feeling that, like even just saying those words brings me to tears, just feeling the level of pain and judgment and like self-hatred that I've inflicted on myself throughout my life. And a big part of that being from the culture of raising our little boys to be warriors and to not be sensitive and to not be vulnerable. And yeah. And I hope that we can return to a way of living that allows our kids to be themselves and to be all of themselves without shaming and punishing. And yeah.
Thank you for sharing, man. It's beautiful. And the word self-discipline, I see you as a very disciplined person, but it all comes back to you in your journey and how you progress. And I've always said this to myself, it's me versus me. And, you know, like this morning I was supposed to get up at 4:30. I totally didn't hear my alarm, 5:30. But what you're doing already, you're already leading by example. You've helped me step up as a man and as a father as well, because of the way that you've held yourself and the way that you push yourself consistently and the way that you know, get up and challenge your mind and your body and your spirit. So give flowers where they're due. You're a great role model in this world for men and even for your son, I can imagine, and even for women to see how a man should act. So keep going.
Can I just challenge the should and also the
man should act?
Yeah, like should,
not should.
And you've like, thank you so much, brother. It's like such a gift to be your friend and to love you and be your brother and watch you really blossom and bloom into such a integrous father and man, and just start sharing your beauty and your gifts and your authenticity with the world. It's really a deep pleasure, and I just feel like I need to receive that blessing, that honoring that you just gave of me, and also just share, like, talk to my ex-partner. You know,
you want to talk to your ex-partner?
Yeah.
What do you want to say?
Of what a man can be, also like the darkness and the pain and the control and the disrespect that has come through my body towards her is equally as dark as the beauty that you get to see and get to know. You know, so I just want to bring a bit of just rawness to that also.
Yeah, it's
like the pain is as equal to the beauty quite often.
It's like the yin and the yang. Without one, you can't really appreciate how far you've come, and unfortunately there's going to be people on that journey that receive that part of you when you was still learning, still evolving, still not fully self-aware or self-conscious of the way you're treating other people. And me as well, like I look at my past and I'm like, I've really like probably hurt some people without actually meaning to do that, but it's because I wasn't loving myself. I wasn't aware of what's inside of myself. I wasn't aware of my actions, really.
Totally.
So,
and that, like, that draws me to, I can't remember where it comes from, like what spiritual lineage, but I've heard a number of times that like every action that we do as a human is an attempt to receive love. And I go to the moments of conflict with the mother of my son, and when we were just so entangled in blame and projection of our own internal pain on each other, that like in the moments of conflict where usually the pattern was I'd get home stressed and just feeling the, you know, the pressure of all the unfelt parts of myself, I'd like spray some of it like in a subtle way of shaming her about the cleanliness of the home or something. She'd respond really aggressively, which is, I'm really proud of her for, like, defending herself for me not being kind of strong enough to contain my own stuff. And then instead of apologizing, I'd react and respond, and then we'd be in this tit for tat conflict that ultimately would end when one of us kind of burst and really yelled at the other person. And in those moments, I'm like, I've reflected upon myself. All I'm actually fighting for is for her to just stop yelling at me and to acknowledge that I'm a flawed human, and to acknowledge that I'm a good person. And I can see that in everything that people do. Is there's actually it's an attempt to remember how beautiful we are, you know, to reconnect to that inner beauty and that inner truth. But it's quite often it's external, right? Like going and buying a bit of chocolate is the same thing. Like that dopamine, that rush of kind of ecstasy of like, oh, thank God, that sweetness is who we are. And we're kind of searching for it in so many ways, whether that's like neo-capitalism or, you know, a 10-year-old boy going down and buying a bag of lollies. It's like trying to remember that sweetness and that beauty and that love that we are in many complex ways.
Do you think that we crave that validation from others is because we've lacked it from growing up?
I think that's one of the reasons, but also think it's part of the design. I think it's part of the education of coming here as a human, to remember why we chose to come here, to remember our roles, to remember, like I've heard one of my most adored and treasured teachers is a man named Martin Prechtel, and he lived with the Mayans in Guatemala for many years, and he had some amazing audiobooks and books. I've mostly listened to the audiobooks, but he shares that for this specific tribe of Mayan people in Guatemala, that the purpose and the function of being a human is to turn pain into beauty. And so I remember when I first heard that, I was just like, I feel like I made so much more sense in the pain and the suffering that I've endured and created for myself through external circumstances. Like it was for a reason, and to turn that pain into art and into beauty. And I so see that, like the artists and the you know, people that are like really making really beautiful things in the world. They've been through a lot.
That's something I notice as well with a lot of successful people. Well, the word success, but people that are you know, aligned with the purpose, it seems, or healing others, or doing amazing things to be remembered for, have been through the most pain. And there's two ways to to go through pain. You can either go through pain, which is inevitable for every human on earth. We're going to go through some kind of pain, and you can either, use it as a way to dwell and go inwards and to just not come out of it, or you can use it as power, as fire to evolve. And how do you think someone who's going through deep pain can turn it from being in the dwelling, sad, I'm a victim, to power?
Through just like that, just through taking a moment to really allow themselves to feel that. And again, I feel like we said this last time, just like connecting to somehow reaching out for support, whether that's through therapists, mentors, online, like whatever, finding someone that you feel safe enough to share that pain with, and eventually finding a community that you feel safe to share that pain with, and also not just that pain, that beauty. Like spend some time reflecting on how beautiful you are, and like what are your gifts, and they're there for every single person, even underneath all the layers of doubt and shame and self-criticism. Everyone has a unique skill set that they're designed to share with us all. But for those people like deep in the dark, and I've been there a number of times in my life and didn't think I was going to make it out, and it's definitely still sadness for that little guy that was pretty close to ending his life. But for those people, if you're listening to this, I just pray for you to remember who you are, and that you are totally worthy of love as much as every single person on this planet, and that you have this pain that you're feeling is the gold that's going to create the beauty that you're going to share with the world. And I just encourage you to find support groups, find people that are not going to judge you, and they're out there. They're totally out there.
I can vouch for this because I was going through something similar not too long ago, to be honest, where I was feeling pretty low and pretty like no compassion or empathy, no love for myself. I was pretty like numb, and I got to a point where I was like, I need help. I said to my partner, I said, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing things to try and help myself. I'm running and I'm eating healthy. I'm drinking healthy. I'm pushing myself to, get out of bed, but I still feel like shit.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need help. So I was just like, just ask for it, pray. I started praying. I prayed out loud. I was like, I need help. Send me someone to help me, break through this ceiling that I'm hitting, because I want to become a better person. Because I had my daughter at the time. She was very young, and I was going through a massive ego death, and I didn't really know that at the time, but it was such a massive transition from before being a father to after, and I was like, I need guidance. I don't know how to do this on my own. This is a massive shift. And prayed, went to bed, woke up the next day and went to a market, the Shannon markets, set up to sell some old stuff, and set up a stall. And then next to me was this guy called Nick. And here he is today.
It was a very auspicious meeting, that's for sure.
I was just like, how you doing, Nick? And you're like, yeah, good. And we got chatting, and found out that you was in the realm of helping men work through this and heal this kind of pain and help them come back to themselves. And I was like, right, well, this must be the sign, and this must be the person that the universe sent to me. So I trusted it, and I can't remember our first session, but we've done many sessions since then, and there's been a lot of pain that's surfaced. There's been a lot of tears. There's been a lot of anger, a lot of different emotion, and you actually helped me, and you made me feel again for the first time in a while, like really feel and really like see the world more beautifully. I've still got so much more to do, but you've helped me even get to this point where I can sit here and look you in the eyes and talk to you, and so yeah, I can just say anyone who is in that low place of needing help, just pray and ask the universe, and you'll be surprised that it can arrive to you just next to you on a market stall.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
Welcome, brother.
The work that you do is incredible, and you may not see it, but the way that you hold the capacity to help people tap in is.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, and I've received a lot of support myself, and continue to from other people that have in some ways journeyed through a very similar story. You know, like this feels like a good segue into sharing some of my journey in Africa.
I was about to ask you about you. Yeah. I was going to get onto that. The first thing I was going to talk about was your camel. But start with Africa, bro.
We'll get to the camel. But I did as you briefly know, you know, a little bit of it. I did my like kind of spiritual awakening was when I was 27, and it happened pretty quickly. And within 6 months, I was walking and running barefoot and hitchhiking barefoot through Africa, and from the bottom to the top. And there was called Run for Love, and I was on this pilgrimage to change the world on my own. I wanted to be a hero, actually. It's my hero's journey. I was trying to get someone from every country in the world to come and join me so we could spread this like unified global energetic of love, that it would just like awaken and flounder in the, you know, flourish, not flounder, sorry, in every country on the planet. But being the impulsive young man I was, I didn't cook it enough. I didn't plan, I didn't structure it. I was like, I gotta go, let's go. And on that, it was called Run for Love, and like the love was the main teacher. And it was the first time I was connecting to a higher power, that there was a loving force of in this universe, whether it's God, Allah, whatever, Elohim, the creator, great spirit, whatever name you want to call it.
What did that feel like?
It was amazing, actually. It was probably one of the highest moments of my life.
Was that when you was running, or was it a specific time you felt it more?
It was when I started meditating. I started meditating maybe a year earlier than that, and just came through one day in a meditation. I was like, okay, actually, it started before that. It probably started when I was a kid, but I wasn't aware of it. But
what does it feel
like? I remembered, it felt like coming home, felt like safety. It felt like I was raised in a really atheist household. My dad was pretty aggressively atheist and still is, and bless him for whatever has caused that. But yeah, it felt like I'm not alone. There's so much more to this mysterious creation than I can ever understand, and that science can ever tell me. And there was such a peace. There was so much peace, so much love, so much compassion that awakened in those moments of rediscovering God and the force of life and the forces of life. And what I was getting to was that on that journey through Africa, like I realized everyone's suffering. Like I remember being in South Sudan, which is like one of the darkest places I've been on the planet. Like so much pain there for these beautiful, beautiful people have been through just some in modern times, like immense suffering. Like there's bullet holes all through the main city, and I won't go too much into their story, but I remember standing on this rooftop smoking a cigarette with this young guy, and he was telling me of the pain of his life and just how there was no hope for work there. He wanted to come to Australia, and I was trying to convince him. I was like, man, people are just as miserable in Australia, and they have everything, maybe even more miserable, and they have everything. I was trying to convince him not to come to Australia. And throughout the journey, I've just realized like the suffering, everyone's suffering, regardless of when I was 21 or 23, I worked on billionaires' private boats. So I've lived and worked with the richest people in the world, and I've also spent time in a slum in Kenya building schools and lived and worked with the poorest people. And the suffering's kind of the same. Like it's there. It's so there. And like the Buddhist teachings, one of the main principles is that life is suffering, and that if we can learn how to accept that and appreciate that and then turn that into beauty, we stop suffering.
Yeah, that's where the magic is.
Yeah. Yeah. In that alchemy, that like we just spoke about after the getting into the cold creek just now, like the transformation of pain into softness and into beauty. And we were talking about, pushing through pain. Like the modern paradigm is like David Goggins and those guys is be hard, push through the pain. It's like, it kind of just creates more pain.
Yeah, we talk about the ice bath and how I've been getting in the ice bath and putting my hands and all my body in, but I did one where I put my hands and my feet in, and like, oh, just just breathe through the pain and breathe it into your dancing. And I'm just like, this is so excruciating. And I pulled my hands and my feet out, and just it brought up a lot of tears, and I was just like, oh. But I think the more that you face the pain and the more that you keep consistently doing that, the easier it becomes.
And soften. That's the key, is to soften
through the breath.
Soften them through the breath and the mind. The breath and the mind together that's the alchemist.
What thoughts are going through your mind when you're like, for example, like you've run, you said not that far, but 100 kilometers a week for how long?
Probably for like 6 or 8 months, and I don't know. I was there for 18 months, and I ran 2,500 kilometers in that time, which isn't much.
Comparison to who though? It depends.
In comparison to the benchmark I set of myself, which was a marathon a day for a year.
Yeah,
which is 18,000 kilometers.
That's insane. A marathon a day for a year. Yeah. And that's like, looking back, do you think that's like kind of superhuman to consider?
Maybe not superhuman, just because I've met humans that have done stuff like that. Like there's a guy just staying on our land who just cycled around Australia, and I know how human those people are, and flawed, and still with with their suffering and their stories, and so not like I know I have that capacity in me if I really wanted to, and put myself, trained hard enough and got my mind in a good enough place and my body in a good enough place. I know I could do that. Yeah. But I feel like that season might have passed for me. I don't actually know if that's going to be the most valuable thing for my growth, for my son, my family, like pushing myself through that much and not being so close to him.
Yeah.
Maybe it will later on down the track. I'm totally open to that happening. Yeah. But just knowing that, like knowing the strength of the human spirit and how capable we are of absolutely whatever we set our minds to, or whatever we get invited to do, actually, is deeply nourishing and empowering to know that. Yeah. And there are humans doing incredible things every single day, like miraculous stuff.
Pushing the boundaries.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Oh, it's great to hear the children just protesting and just being authentically themselves. It's a great teacher, isn't it? Just be authentically you, and like I said, things come to you, and you've got to be in tune with yourself to know if that's something you should do. Like trying to run a marathon a day now when you've got a kid, and just doesn't really make sense. Probably more a sabotage on you and your family than it is a benefit. But back then it was good on you for like even.
It was a beautiful, heroic quest to avoid my own suffering. I was trying to avoid crying.
Yeah.
Regularly, actually. Like I was running towards myself and shedding the layers of all I want to say is the fucking colonial shit that I was raised in. Like this colonial chaos that is this country. I was trying to shed that and get, find who I am again, find the me that I'd be proud of, and that.
Yeah.
And I also thought that through the pain and the suffering, if I just endured enough and pushed myself enough, I wouldn't have to be vulnerable. I wouldn't have to, I'd just be so strong in who I am that I wouldn't have to open and soften and crumble. And
yeah, that was the biggest lesson for me. Like, I was running, I was doing all these things, but I wasn't softening.
Totally.
And
it's not sustainable.
Yeah, a lot of men need to realize it's okay to cry. It's actually really fucking healthy to release and cry.
Yeah.
Like, get it out. It's stagnant in your body, in your organs, in your wherever it's stored, like, and just simmering, letting it simmer inside of you just turns into disease. It turns into anger. It turns into you not being a very nice person to be around because you're just emitting a very, very toxic energy. So find your way to release it. For me, it's running and meditating and speaking to people like yourself and finding people that are on a higher frequency that are also doing the same thing. I've spoke about it in the past. Like, when you start doing that, you'll start to notice the people that are actually there to support you and the people that are there to just test you.
Yeah.
And that's where it circles back to self-discipline, is going, Frankie has just asked me if I want to go out for a beer. But I've not drank for like 12 months, but I really would love a beer. Do you say yes or do you say no? And it's like, this is where the self-discipline is going, no, I'm good, thanks. And not to people please anyone. And this is my biggest lesson with kids. They don't people please, they're just authentic. And that's what more people need to come back to, is authentic to you and what's going to help you take yourself to the next level.
Yeah, totally.
I want to know, obviously you've done that crazy ass, only 2,000 odd kilometers barefoot in Africa, not that far. I know you've done, fasts for how long? You did 7 days, did you once? 11 days?
The longest I've done is 12. I did an 11 and a 12 last year.
Tell us about that, because I've done 3 days and that was torture. So
I'm gonna be really raw here. I wasn't ever gonna share this, but I actually did 11 days of just piss.
Love it.
I barely drank any water. I just drank my own piss, like every drop. Every time I pissed, I caught it in a jar and I drank
for 11 days.
That was January 1st to January 11 last year.
How was that?
It was brutal.
Drinking your own piss, I can't, and just straight in the morning. Is it like it's
all day?
All day.
Yeah.
What did you notice from doing an 11-day a fast with just water and then a fast with drinking piss?
The piss was deeply detoxifying. Like, there was and after I finished I realized how unhealthy I'd been, how unwell I'd been. Like, I could feel there was like heavy metals and toxins and just like poison from food and chemicals in the air in my body, and it was just like leaching and clearing all of that out of my body.
So you drinking your own piss helps you then like tune into what is in your body and then helps clear it? Exactly,
yeah. Like, there's a lot of science behind it, and I'm not going to go too into it, and it's super controversial. And
luckily we pissed in these this morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I pissed in. Yeah, there's many doctors that have left medicine and what they're practicing, and they're calling it urine therapy now, and there's heaps of science that backs it. But what I tune into is, it's kind of like the water passes through all the organs and it picks up all the information of what's going on in there, and it creates like a homeopathic dose. Like, most people freak out and they're like, yeah, but you're drinking, because in the Western model, it's a toxin release, like you're releasing waste. And same with feces, I definitely don't recommend anyone eating feces.
You've not done that, have you?
I don't think that, no.
You're just not going to admit it.
Maybe it's good. I actually never have. But there are so many cultures that drink urine, especially as a medicine. Like in India, when they get bitten by a snake in many parts, they piss on the bite and they drink their own piss.
It's the same for jellyfish stings here in Oz, isn't it? If you get stung by a jelly, just pee on it.
And there's so much.
They don't say to drink it though.
There's a lot of information, like historical, that supports it. Anyway, I definitely didn't think we were going to end up here.
What made you share that? Like, from I know, like, there's a part of you that didn't want to share it, but what today made you think, you know what, I'm just going to tell?
Just the authenticity. Like, it's something that has deeply benefited my life doing the urine therapy work, and there's shame around like exposing that and talking about
just because
it.
of what other people might think.
Totally. I already get a lot of judgment from other people. Like friends even judge me regularly for that. And
kind of pushes me to go, maybe I need to start trying my own piss.
I know a number of guys like you that are on that. You know? If it happens, it happens. I'm definitely not going to push it on anyone. It works for me. Like the first time I ever had some, my whole body got filled with white light. It was like a really high kind of spiritual experience, and it works. It works for me, even though it's really challenging.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fasting's eventually, after the first few excruciating times, it's easier actually. Like eating 3 meals a day, preparing food, shopping, like doing the dishes. There's so much energy that goes into that, and digesting. And again, there's so much science that supports water fasting, and there's science that supports anything actually. If you believe in something enough, and there's science there for it.
It's more just trying it for yourself and seeing how you feel. Like when I did that 3-day water fast, I felt more energized. Obviously, I was so hungry, and I realized how much I actually just eat food because of the pleasure of eating food, not because I need it. It's because, let's just eat food now. And
for me, usually it's like I'm feeling pain and stress and tension. I need to distract myself with taste, and fill that void that's unfillable. Yeah.
Good on you, bro. It's takes a lot of courage and, again, self-discipline, because you probably wake up and see food around you and see people eating, and you're like, I'd love to eat that. There's probably one part of your brain going on, I want to eat that so much right now. But then you've got such a powerful other part of your mind. I don't know the scientific parts of the brain, but that part is going, I've heard it might be the prefrontal, what's it called?
Cortex.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That gives you that discipline to go, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And that comes, I think one thing that I'm getting from it is, if you can do a fast for 3 days to 11 days like yourself, and you can actually say no, it's going to help you in life to say no to things that don't serve you.
Every time I do a fast, what comes, the wisdom that comes through is like, the discipline is your health. Like discipline is where your energy is, not more sleep, not more supplements. Like you're going to feel healthier, more vital and strong and pleasurable. Maybe pleasurable, but probably a different sort of pleasure than what I've been seeking through discipline. Yeah. And as I'm saying that, I'm just seeing like, martial artists, which I'm only just getting into now, and wish I got into as a young person for sure, just because the discipline and the strength and the just maturity that a lot of martial artists have is inspiring. Yeah.
Takes a lot of dedication and a lot, like you said, just brain power to say I'm going to do this even when I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
I think this is a good segue to talk about the camel in Sudan. Tell us about your camel experience that you had. I'd love to know. I'll let you lead the way.
So I was in Sudan, which is in this moment in a pretty horrific situation with a really brutal war going on. And so just sending so much love and prayers for peace and stability in that country in this moment. And yeah, it kind of actually feels hard to talk about, just feeling the depth and the severity of what's going on there.
Must have been pretty bad from what I can.
What's like right now though? Right now it's like in a really bad place.
Is it?
Yeah, like really, really bad. And bless, praying that stops really soon. And yeah, so I was there. I was on this journey. I was lost, man, and I was looking for things to do that would to challenge myself. By that point, I'd kind of given up on the running. I wasn't really running very much. I'd been there for over a year and was like pretty tired and was still smoking heaps of cigarettes. And I was running a little bit, like I was just finding groups of young people and running with them occasionally, and like finding young activists and non-for-profits and just being friends with them and inspiring them to believe in themselves and support their countries and their communities. And I just had this, I can't actually remember how, it's 7 years ago now. I can't actually remember how it happened, but I was like, I actually just need to go and buy a camel and walk. The plan was to walk through the Sahara Desert for 6 weeks. And that was going to be the thing that was going to embody the man that I was trying to become. And so I met this beautiful brother, Mohammed Osman, love you, bro, in Sudan, and we became really close. And he was 24 at the time, and he'd never left his city before. Like, he'd been maybe an hour outside of his city to see some relatives. And he was like a deeply, deeply spiritual man that was kind of breaking free of the confines of the dogma of Islam that was really strong in Sudan and is really strong. Like he loves Islam so much, and he loved a lot of the teachings, but the embodiment of religion, as we all know, is not fantastic. And anyway, and so he decided to come with me. We went to Port Sudan. He saw the ocean for the first time, which was like an incredible. I just remember him just sitting, getting on his knees on this little jetty, just crying, just sitting there, just weeping for.
How far away was that from his home?
Maybe like 7 hours or something.
Just didn't have the resources or ways of getting to the ocean.
Yeah, it just hadn't happened at this point. Like, maybe he did have those resources. It just didn't happen. It was just in his life there, And
what did he do to see the ocean for the first time?
What did he do?
Yeah.
He cried. He got on his knees and just cried.
Mm.
And anyway, we ended up buying this camel called, and then we met this man, Sheikh Musa. And
where do you go to buy a camel? You just walk down the street and some dude selling a camel.
Yeah, there's like camel markets because they use camels over there as transport,
just through the streets and that.
Yeah, in the rural areas. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they ride like they're a lot of them are alive because of camels. And yeah, it took a while to get one. Being the kind of only white guy in the area trying to buy a camel was exhausting.
Could you not have asked Muhammad? Was Muhammad with you?
Muhammad was with me, yeah.
Why didn't you say, Muhammad, help me out here?
He was, yeah. But like, I don't know if you've ever been a white man in Africa trying to buy a camel
I've
before.
never done that before, actually, no.
Everyone wants to.
I don't know many people that have been a white man in Africa trying to buy a camel. You're probably in the top small percent of people.
Oh, there's a few. I met a few.
Yeah, I bet when you're there.
A few weirdos like myself. But yeah, everyone's just trying to sell you their camel and convince you why this one's wrong. And anyway, we ended up choosing this camel that many people had said was like an angry camel and was going to kill us and we were going to die and blah, 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 blah. For a week, that's kind of, or maybe 10 days. So it's like what we were dealing with and like, you're going to die, yada. Anyway, we got all our kit, got our camel.
Why were they trying to put fear into you for having a camel?
Because they were just afraid of doing that themselves. And I'd already, like the whole journey I'd been, can you imagine when I was in Australia, in Sydney, telling people, hey, I'm going to go to Africa and I'm going to run with no shoes on, a marathon a day for a year through 20 countries, including war zones. Can you imagine all the doubt and the disbelief and the fear and the
people do like to
propaganda.
project.
Yeah. Because we do that as humans. We can only understand what we understand. We can only experience what we've experienced. Like a lot of people don't have the ability to project themselves into that kind of possible reality. So it's impossible. And I get it, you know? And so I'd been receiving like, you're going to die, you're going to this, you're going to that.
Instead of going, you've got this,
You've got
I
this,
believe
yeah.
in you go for it, brother. If you need anything, I'm here for you. They're like, fear, you can't do this, bring you down because I don't want you to succeed, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's wild, isn't it? Yeah.
I get it though. I understand where it comes from. I do it myself. You know, like if there's things I doubt in myself to achieve, I unconsciously doubt in that person. And even if I don't communicate that, I judge them because I'm jealous of that, whatever that belief and that strength is, and try and shut it down.
But you are aware of that, and you probably do something to shift that energy so you don't continue to do that.
If I'm lucky, you know, if I'm not just consumed in my own problems and overwhelm in my life, at times, moments of grace, I do, yeah, for sure. But I still do it a lot, which is how I can have compassion for where that comes from, because I do it.
So you got this camel, you bought it, you got told you're going to die, and then what did you do?
And then we just ignored everyone and we left.
And went where?
We started walking inland, like we were on the walks through these mountains on the outskirts of the Sahara Desert. And I remember we were leaving the city and I was walking next to the camel, and they have, I'm sure in most countries where they use camels, but they put a ring through its nose, maybe just one nostril actually, and it's attached to a rope because that's the most sensitive part of their body. And so when they're not obeying the demands of the aggressive man, they tug on that and be like, come on, you know, like with pain. And I wanted to take it off straight away. But my bro, Muhammad, was pretty scared. Like he knew nothing about camels. I knew nothing about camels. And we're walking and I'm walking next to this thing and my head was like in line with its belly, like with the bottom of its belly. It's a fucking like a dinosaur, man. It's huge. I was like, okay. And I was talking to him and I was like, and Muhammad was walking with him. And I said to him out loud, I said, as Sheikh Musa was his name, I was like, after Sheikh Musa, after like 3 or 4 days, when we're not scared of you anymore, we're going to take that thing out of your nose. But right now, we don't know how to even get you to sit down. So we're going to leave it in right now. And Muhammad especially really wants it in. I promise you I'm not going to ever pull it, but we're going to leave it in right now. And anyway, that first night we pretty much, he wouldn't go down and we just tied him to a tree and woke up in the morning and he wasn't there, and
he got away from the tree.
Got away, but he wasn't far. Like he was just a gangster.
Love it. Camel just learned how to escape from his chain.
From our we just did probably a really shit night. And anyway, we found him. We kept walking, and I remember on like the 3rd or the 4th day, I think it was the 3rd day, we were super tired. We were probably only walking like 30 Ks a day or something, but it was really hot and, you know, and Muhammad had never done anything like that before.
30 Ks a day in the heat.
Yeah, in the heat. And anyway, we walk into this village as the sun's going down and like super, I was wearing thongs actually at this in the desert. And this man comes, like pretty much the first hut, this man comes out and he's got this massive afro and just like beaming joy, like so alive and happy and kind, and just came straight up to us, grabbed Sheikh Musa the camel, walked him into his home, was like, you guys are staying in my house. And this happened to me my entire journey through Africa. Wherever I would be, I'd just arrive in a village, especially because I had no shoes on. People were really concerned about me. They thought I was crazy. Like, actually, it's not very common to see a white guy with no shoes on over there. And I would just always be welcomed into a home, like straight away. And anyway, so we go into this guy's like little courtyard, and he's got this old kind of like stable area that's where we ended up sleeping, and he takes Sheikh Musa over and he unloads everything. And just also to say, we never rode him. We just had him carrying like food and supply, like tents and
you just used him to carry your stuff.
Water.
Fair enough.
Yeah, totally.
Camel might have enjoyed a bit of exercise anyway. I wonder what he was doing before. So
he was just hanging around in a city.
He's like, take me on an adventure, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. Do you know what comes to mind? Like, just while we're on it, like you're in Sudan and it's one of the most affected places and they're in the most pain, but you go and walking through and they're still willing to help other people.
Everywhere. Like 99% of people in those countries are, maybe not 99. That's
and do you think that's because they've been through so much pain that they've got compassion for others?
They know what suffering is. A lot of them is because they're like deeply spiritual people, you know, and deeply religious. Mostly just they want to just help. Some because they want money, you know, which I totally get. Opportunists. There's such incredible opportunists and innovators in Africa in so many ways because they needed to be because of the colonial oppression that still takes place there in massive form today. And that was also a big part of the journey, was trying to communicate to the Western world and people here in Australia and America and Europe. Like I had a bit of a following from all around the world, is the reality of what goes on in Africa, in the Middle East. Quite a lot of the time that's really, really heavily influenced by Western politics and companies like oil, gas, and like precious gem companies. And that, I feel like that's really important to share again, because those continents are not impoverished just because of the people within the continents. It's a plan. And especially Africa, like Africa's the most resource-rich continent on the world. Most things come from Africa. Something, I don't know the full statistic, but something like 74 or 75% of every smartphone comes from the fucking Congo, from one country. And there's kids mining all that shit, you know? And so if Africa, the Congo, takes its independence back and says, actually, no, China, no, America, you're not stealing our resources anymore.
Easier said than done, that though, isn't it?
Totally. Like, because they get in and they manipulate, and there's all the, well, you know, we're not going to go to.
Yeah, you could go down a complete new rabbit hole with that. We know how fucking corrupt a lot of the world is, and a lot of the governments and a lot of countries. Yeah, it's we even speak about it, I feel an internal rage, because even in Australia, like, it happens everywhere in the world. I don't think I know of a country that is not corrupt. I'm not really sure. Yeah. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. I just felt it felt important to kind of touch on that, and
the suffering through the actions of greedy corporations and governments that aren't even theirs.
Yeah. And that it's by design, so that we can buy stuff that we don't need in our countries, you know? It's like greed. Yeah. Anyway,
back to the camel. What the fuck happened to the camel? What did you do with it?
So on where we go into this guy's compound, he takes all his stuff off. And this happens everywhere. Every village, every time we'd walk into a village, people would just come grab the camel, tie him up, give him water.
They just know how to deal with it.
They just knew how to deal with it, you know. That's what they did. It's so beautiful. But no one ever took the thing out of his nose. And this guy took the thing out of his nose, and I was like, oh, it's day 3. I told him, I promised him on day 3 I'd take that thing out of his nose. And as I was watching it, he was like probably 15 meters away. He just looked over and just looked me straight in the eyes as I was having that thought process. And I was like, okay, it's not going back in. And my bro Muhammad was like, we had a fight about it. Like he wanted to put it back in, and I was just trying to educate. I was like, man, we don't need to operate from fear and control. It's love. Like, love is the guiding force here. If we learn to not be afraid of this animal and trust ourselves and love ourselves, like, that kind of communication is
such a good lesson, that, like, not even just for the camel, but in life, in everyday life. Like,
totally.
I've noticed my brain can sometimes try and operate in fear and doubts, but then to switch it and remind myself that you've got nothing to be afraid of, you know, you've got this, like, and self-talk, but also having the confidence in myself that I can do this.
Yeah.
So it's it's a beautiful lesson from that one camel, and to what you've taught Muhammad as well from it.
Yeah, and they both taught me that as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then so a few days later I was like, the plan was we're going to go 6 weeks, we're going to come out feeling deeply embodied in my warrior. And I kind of wish I still did it, to be honest. But it just happened how it happened. And then I had this plan to leave that camel in Khartoum, which is the capital, and then come back here and take men on journeys over there and use him. And anyway, after about 7 days, we meet this old man. Well, not old, he was probably like 50. And he lived on his own with like 30 or 40 goats and he had like 15 little baby goats. I don't even know what you call kids. What do you call them? Kids?
Baby goats is good for me. I'm not going to try and pretend I know.
I think they're called kids.
Kids.
Yeah.
Nice.
And he hadn't spoken to another human for 1 year. Like, he was just living in the desert on his own. There were a few different people on the outskirts of the desert. There were a few different people that we'd met that were, you know, in that kind of experience. And he was so deep and so, actually, no, he was older than 50. He was probably like in his 70s. He was actually quite old now. Well, then we ended up staying with him and we cooked bread on the fire. And I had this big process with Sheikh Musa, and so did Muhammad. Muhammad was just really afraid of him, and the old man kind of taught us how to just not be as afraid of him, and he was just really gentle and calm with him, and we were little boys, you know. He was 24, I was 28. Even though back in the day that would have been like a man, but
it's all relative to where you are on your journey.
Exactly.
When you look back at your 24, 28-year-old self, you're like, how far I've evolved and changed since then.
And then we're eating, we had some lentils that we brought him. So we made some lentils. He made this delicious bread, and we didn't have much, and he had a little bit left in his plate, and he was just sharing his food with the little baby goats. And I was just so touched by that. And I could see how caring and kind and loving this man was. And I went to sleep and I was like, just like, why am I doing this? What the fuck am I doing? And the next morning I woke up and I was still kind of in that. It's like, why am I dragging this camel through the desert? Even though that's what I thought I was doing when really he was obviously leading. But I could see that his ribs he was getting skinnier.
Mm.
And I could see marks on his ribs from where the material was rubbing on him. And like, this was just my process, and they're probably totally okay. Like, they're kind of designed to be really strong and durable like they are. But I remember going and sitting next to him, and he was so happy. He was eating, like, all of his favorite trees were around. And I had this plan to go and lock him up in the city again, where he's not supposed to be. And I could see he was going through a process of settling his, like, he was pretty kind of feisty and stuff in the beginning, but by the time we were a little bit deeper into away from the city and into nature, he was more rested and calm. And I just remember just sitting there just like, oh, why am I doing this to this animal? Like, he should actually just stay here. And I just remember just bursting into tears, like falling in love with this creature and just crying, sitting there just sobbing. And I went back and spoke to Muhammad and me and this old man. We just had this dialogue. Like, we didn't actually need to communicate with each other with words. Like, I didn't even need Muhammad to translate. I could just speak to him in English and he could speak to me in Arabic, and in Sudanese Arabic, and we just understand each other. And I told him, I was like, I'm going to give you this camel, which is like, probably cost me like, with all the gear, like $1,200 US, which is a significant amount of money.
For someone in Sudan.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And even for me, like, and just remember, just was like, I need to give you this animal. I don't want him to, go through a life of like domesticity, and here you go, you can have it. And I was crying, I was bawling my eyes out, and so was he. And I was like, Muhammad, can you just let him know that? And I didn't even need to say this because he knew, and I knew that he knew. I was like, there's just one condition, is that he never hits this animal. And I could see that he wouldn't anyway. And he knew that's what I was saying to Muhammad, and he's just like smiling and crying, and it was so beautiful. And yeah, and there was something about like falling in love with that animal and gifting it to this other human that was greater than my desire to be a fucking hero. That was greater than my desire or my unconscious desire to avoid the pain and the heart. Like, I wasn't trying to meet the heart. I was trying to meet the warrior and the strength and the heroic story to deliver to my followers and my friends and family when I returned home. But it was that moment there that I was like, okay, this is more than my desire to be something and to be great. And there's still, as I say that, there's still shame, there's still feeling like I failed, there's still judgment of myself. So just to acknowledge that.
Still human, still working for it.
Totally.
Every day. Yeah. Even when you are healing other people and helping others, you still, it takes sometimes lifetimes to master this, and you may never. So
we're so human, all of us. Yeah.
What do you think then? Obviously, it helped you realize, you don't need to continue to try and be a hero and to keep pushing and being strong warrior style. Do you think it taught you more how to soften and find compassion?
There was both of that there. Like, now I'm 7 years later, I'm returning to like, I actually need to be stronger than I have been. I probably never needed to, but there was also parts of that was avoiding activating that and knowing the strengths, like the physical capability and the warrior inside of me. And so I'm in this process now of like remembering that and recultivating the strength and the wellness to feel what this body's capable of. But now I've got a really beautiful balance.
Yeah,
like
that's what I was going to say.
The qigong, the therapy, the beautiful brothers that I can be really honest and authentic with. And whereas then I was just on my own. I was like just running from connection, actually. Running from both those parts of myself, the warrior and the lover.
We've got a similar story, me and you, with the way that we've run away from all of the pain and all of the suffering, and later on in, I don't know if it was in your 30s, but for me in my 30s, where I really started to go inwards. And
me too, yeah.
What do you think the biggest lesson from all of them challenging things that you've put yourself through, like the running and the fasting, and you've done vision quests, and you've done a lot of things to test your mind, body and spirit. What do you think the biggest lesson you've learned from it is?
It's so easy to answer that question, and I can see a fucking church, like the symbol of the church, the cross inside of me, being something that suppressed this in me. And the easiest answer for that question is that I belong to this earth, that I belong to this earth. That's it. That I am not separate from this planet, from these trees, from this air, from this water. I am all of that. That's been the clearest take home from everything I've ever done. That's always anytime I ever do any kind of really deep work on myself, is like slow down, spend more time on the earth, remembering that you are her. and that I am also the sky and the cosmos. Yeah.
Yeah,
and everything else in between, you know? But for me, one of the deepest ones, like, because the spirituality's there, right? But it's mostly like a hard up concept. Like, we're connected to God. We believe in God. It's all above. God's up there. But the earth, like, because the church, like, colonialism is a religious act. Like, it was an attempt to eradicate people's connection to the earth.
You're going to piss off all the priests that are watching this, bro.
Yeah. Well, I love you guys, but the truth hurts sometimes. That. And now since returning home, I'm finding ways and ceremonies and traditions and communities that are doing the deep work to remember that we are the earth and that we belong there. Like, every single Indigenous culture has been telling us for thousands of years, but we haven't listened to that.
How does that change, like, because I hear you, but I can't feel it because I don't think I'm there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know it as a you know it's the truth, maybe intellectually, but it's not there in the body.
Yeah, I can't feel it. I can't really comprehend it. I can't get my head around it. I can tell myself it is, but it's until you only know what you know. So for me to, like, get to that point, do you think more pain is required? Is that the answer, or?
Yeah, totally, yeah. But more, it's painful. It's painful to reconnect to the earth. It's scary. It's like we have to meet all the numb parts of ourselves that don't feel like we know her. And it's still, like, for me, it's still really uncomfortable and clunky. And I'm like, hey, how do I do this? How do I communicate with you? But the pain, like, those ceremonies, the vision quest, even the fasting, if it's done right, which I haven't done it right many times, it's meant to be done on the earth. And the pain is like part of the rite of passage. It's like, yeah, like part of that initiation into remembering the earth is the abstinence and the going without. And the fear of the night and the dark and the pain in the body. And like I do a lot of work with grief and a lot of somatic work. And like a lot of what we feel is not just from our childhoods and from our beautiful parents that did their best, or from our ancestors. Like, we feel the pain of the earth. We feel the pain of, I remember when I was going through Africa, like, I'd feel Sudan and I'd just sit there. I remember Yemen was going through a horrific time, and they probably still are. And I feel guilty and ashamed that I don't know what they're going through. But I remember sitting there just crying my eyes out for this whole country of people, and that pain is in my body every day, because we are one people and we are one earth. We are one living organism that's expressed uniquely through each one. But we feel like that's in the body, because the earth is my body. I eat the earth. I drink the water. It's all there. And so that quite often that pain or that shame that I identify as my own flaws is part of the kind of collective field of maybe what we're not feeling.
It's interesting, isn't it? I guess that's why a lot of people may not have the capacity to go into the connection of self-healing and connecting with themselves, and because then they feel everything. They feel more. They feel more pain. They feel more trauma from other countries, from collective energies. So that's why disconnection is the easy way out.
Of course. And again, just so much fucking compassion for people that can't turn towards the pain and the suffering in the world, because it's overwhelming. And I get it. And then with the design of social media to distract us from ourselves, or maybe not the design, maybe it was, I'm just going to open that it potentially was created as like a human connection tool, and now is very complex. And
it's a very optimistic way to
very
look at
complex.
it.
Yeah, but I believe it's not just one way, right? Like, there's good and bad in everything, every decision that gets made. Yeah, I get it. I get how overwhelming it is for people, but that's like the deeper I go into remembering who I truly am and the beauty that I walk with, the more pain I have to feel. And the more I allow that pain and those tears to crack me open to love and to life and to the beauty. Like for me, mostly when I've been yearning to feel and notice the beauty for so many years. And sometimes when I do, I just burst into tears because it's so finite. It's so subtle. It's so fleeting. It's going to go. It's going to leave. And I'm going to go back into the pain realms and the shadow realms over and over again.
Just ebbs and flowing.
Totally.
Ups and downs.
Yeah. But as a man that like for the last few years has really been walking with trying to understand grief and support people to feel it. I feel like it's really, it's like a really necessary role to play in humanity right now, supporting men to grieve, like authentically grieve, because it's so frozen. The tears are so frozen in humanity, but especially in man. It feels really important. No. And I regularly doubt myself and judge myself. Like when I cry, every time I cry, I'm like, oh, this is unsafe. Men are going to judge me. I'm going to, it's like there's a lot of story around that. But I just feel the essential need for it to allow us to be strong. Like let's be warriors. Let's know our full strength. And let's also know the most delightful tenderness that being a father, like on any day, man, I could just tune in. I feel like I'm maybe a little bit excited in this moment and just feel the beauty of my son and his innocence and his purity and just cry because of how tender it is, and cry for the times that I've already been frustrated with him and shamed and constricted his light with my own pain. Yeah, just that.
Yeah.
Constricted his light with my own pain. Yeah.
And then you notice that, and then you do the things that's required to improve every single day, and you go to the gym and you're getting up at 3:30, 4 a.m. and you're doing tea ceremonies on how to soften. You're speaking to other people that are also guiding you and teaching you. So yeah.
I'm blessed, and so is he, to have me as a father, and really so grateful to have arrived here and chosen to come here. And we're so lucky. We're so lucky to be who we are and to be doing this work and to be meeting these tears.
Yeah.
There's no, for me, there's like nothing that's much more sacred than actually just sharing some tears with someone.
Bro, you've helped me in many ways, and I know there's probably some people watching this and listening to this that also may need help. For anyone who's, I can highly suggest yourself. Where would any brothers or sisters be able to access the knowledge that you've gotten for you to support them through any grief, or to support them to finding themselves a bit more?
Yeah, social media.
What is your socials, my friend?
Even though I was just riffing on it earlier. Nick John Lawson on Instagram, and then Nick Lawson on Facebook. And I have a website, www.earthcenteredmentoring.com, that's just down at the moment. I'm going to revive it soon.
Nice. I'll add all these into the comments anyway. But awesome. Yeah, you're doing great work, and you're helping a lot of people heal. And I think one by one, all it takes is one by one, and which can then eventually, when we get past a certain point, it'll start to snowball.
Oh, it's already snowballing, my bro. It's already...
You've seen
not the work I'm doing, but just collectively, like there is so much good stuff happening on this planet right now. Like we are simultaneously in so much illumination of the darkness, but there is so much beauty and so much joy and so much deep healing happening. It's like, it's exciting to be alive.
Love will win in the end.
Yeah.
love is the answer. That's what comes to my mind, is love and compassion and empathy for others, and constant self-reflection on how you're acting. If you're acting with integrity, if you're acting with love, and being accountable for when you're not, and actually making the conscious decision to go, that wasn't probably the right thing to do. I can now either apologize for it, or I can make it right, and then try and improve every single day.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Bit of maturity and growth.
That's it.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, it's been amazing chatting to you as always, and I appreciate you bringing your time and energy and sharing all that you know and all that you've learned over these years. Any last leaving words?
Yeah, I just want to thank you, bro. Thanks for your courage and mastery of organizing all of this. It's really inspiring, and just feel like I want to, just share a prayer. The whole Great Spirit, whole Mother Earth, Yahweh, to the Bunjalung Nation here, whose lands we're on, and just pray that all people listening to this podcast, and even all those people that aren't listening to this podcast, may they take a few moments today to slow down and soften the tension in the body and feel their feet on the earth, and let their head elevate to the sky, and just remember how deeply, deeply beautiful they are, how worthy of love, of respect, of joy, of pleasure, of all of it. And that we can support each other as a global community, and a small, our small communities. We can just learn how to really create spaces that allow all of us to be authentically expressed and witnessed and loved without judgment. And we're going to have to love our way through the judgment and the fear that's in the human body right now. And I just really, really pray that we as men can keep remembering who we are, like remembering our strength and our beauty, and just softening over and over again, and taking care of our families, taking care of our kids, our partners, and just caring for people on the street, like dropping the busyness and the self-righteousness, and we can just recreate a world that our children are going to really feel safe in, and like they can flourish and be surrounded by embodied people that embody love, and people that embody respect for all of life, not just for themselves and for money. So that's those are my closing words, brother, and just prayers for you and your family and your health and your flourishing, bro. Just may abundance rain upon you guys, and I can see it. I'm watching it in real time. I'm watching you just really become such an epic, sexy, just strong, beautiful man, really balanced.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, bro.
I appreciate you. Much love to you, bro.
Yo.